Even though it seems like it's been 1,000 years since lockdown began and coronavirus became part of the public discourse, we are finally now starting to see lockdown ease up a little bit. Hairdressers and pubs, in fact, particularly hairdressers, it's the same reason why I don't have a mullet anymore, but noticeably absent from the businesses opening up again are cinemas. And while this isn't the case for all cinemas, the majority of UK cinemas haven't opened yet, and it's all down to one film. In fact, it's Christopher Nolan's next movie, Tenet. But before we dive further into that topic, I just want to say, as always, thanks again for coming to my channel. Saw a recent uptick in subscribers, so I just want to say thank you very much to all of our new subscribers here. And for anyone who's been following me since the start, thanks for sticking around. So anyway, let's dive into Tenet. Now, as most people in the UK know, cinemas were supposed to be part of the Super Saturday reopening of shops and spaces, but when Tenet got delayed again, I think it's been delayed two or three times now, cinemas decided to postpone their own reopening to coincide with Tenet's release. Of course, this hasn't been said explicitly, but at this point it seems completely apparent to most people that these cinemas are banking on Tenet being a success. They need this film to work, to draw people back into the cinemas. The optimist in me believes that this film will more than likely be a success. After all, Dunkirk, Nolan's last movie, was a huge success and proved that the man has a dedicated fan base. He is pretty much now regarded as one of the great modern auteurs, against the likes of Quentin Tarantino, Jordan Peele, any other names that come to mind. He is now part of the modern canon. Plus, there's a huge amount of allure just in Tenet itself. The trailers have made it out to be this unique sci-fi action thriller with twists that probably we won't even understand until we actually see the movie. And it reminds me a lot of Inception. I mean, we had no idea what we were getting into when that movie came out, and people loved it. It was word of mouth that really pushed that movie to become the success that it was. So long as that same word of mouth prevails this time around and the reviews prove to be good for the film, then I'm sure that will hopefully be enough to entice audiences back into cinemas. As you've no doubt guessed from the title of this video though, I want to spend a bit of time talking about what might happen if Tenet does not succeed. Over the last couple of months, studios have been paying very close attention to the success of video on demand. On this channel, we've already talked about the success of Trolls World Tour and how that completely smashed expectations of what a major film could do if it is released on demand. And if a huge blockbuster like Tenet can't bring audiences back to the cinemas, studios will more than likely take that as an example of audiences just not being comfortable about being in the cinema again following the events of the pandemic. Luckily, however, the first month of cinemas reopening won't have to rely exclusively on Tenet, as not that long after, you will see the release of Mulan. Now, say what you will about those recent Disney remakes, it doesn't matter if you love them or you hate them, they absolutely obliterate the box office. Last year's The Lion King ended up being one of the highest grossing movies of all time, meaning that if Tenet can't entice adults to come back to the cinemas, then maybe Mulan is just the ticket to encourage families to attend instead. However, if both of those movies fail to attract much attention, then you're going to see some real trouble brewing. For months, there have been rumors as to whether or not Disney would just release Black Widow, the next MCU movie, straight to Disney+. And of course, Disney's been holding off until this point, which makes sense because the Marvel movies, when they do get released in cinemas, make a huge amount of money. But if Disney now realizes that that option of revenue just isn't there anymore, then really Disney Plus is the only way to go. You also have to bear in mind that the cinema industry faces a lot of problems going forward, specifically for independent cinemas. These smaller venues rely on selling as many tickets as possible in order to turn a profit, but if they have to follow social distancing guidelines, then it's unlikely that those independent cinemas will survive into the future. In fact, the Independent Cinema Office ran a survey amongst these smaller venues and found out that if they do have to adhere to social distancing measures, most of them won't last more than 3 months. Now, this problem might be curbed somewhat in the immediate future due to a huge £1.5 billion arts fund established by the UK government, but it still leaves a lot up in the air further down the line. As a huge fan of cinema and someone who would hate to see cinemas go away completely, I really hope that audiences turn up to support Tenet. After all, it's not just one film we're talking about here, it's an entire industry. an industry made up of countless individuals who, for the most part in the last couple of months, have been left out in the cold, and it would be horrible to see them left on the wayside again if cinemas can't compete going forward. But like I said earlier, I'm still an optimist, even though I sometimes have a bit of a diatone on this channel. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing Tenet in the cinemas and just getting to be in the cinema again, really. I'm just very excited for it. But of course, as always, I'd like to pose the question to you guys. Are you excited to go back to the cinemas? Will you be going straight for Tenet? Will you be waiting for Mulan? Are you looking at seeing an indie movie? Whatever it is, just please let me know in the comments below.